Alright guys, here's my build. MX650 stretched swing arm, 7 inches, 17-14 wheel set, pit bike kit from eBay, QS165 motor, FarDriver controller, and let's go into it. It seems like I have some useful information to share to help people's build get on the way, and maybe facilitate you from hitting a few roadblocks that I did, which actually went pretty smooth. I'm gonna say it went pretty smooth for me thanks to other people's info that I've gotten. This build was inspired by Gypsy on YouTube. I'll drop a link to his build, but I saw his build and I said I gotta have it. I had a razor laying around and I said that's the project I'm going for. Anyway, started out, I just went for it and ordered the pit bike kit, which brings the forks, wheels, brakes, and brake rotors. The way I got this mounted up, shout out to Chad Pinkin, which is the person that he shouts out. Gypsy shouts out on his video, but that's not the method I went with, but that's what inspired the whole build. Gypsy doesn't have this build, I don't see it, and I probably won't make my build. Anyway, I ended up going with the 15mm head tube axle. That's what I'm gonna call it, head tube axle. I went with the 15mm just for added strength. Believe it or not, take a look at the build. You have the QSMotor on the swing arm towards the rear, and you have this fork, and believe it or not, the heaviest part of the bike is this front. It must be those forks. Heavy. They work great, but it's the heaviest part of my bike by far. So why not have the extra rigidity and strength? I went with the 15mm. Right, so one method I've seen, people push this out from their triple tree and then cut it and then buy the appropriate size drill and use this as spacers and make the hole you want. But a 15mm bit, and then the bottom, the bottom is still 15mm for the axle, right? It's about 20 something part. I don't have a vise to hold it steady. I just knew I was gonna mess it up and then be about 15 plus for a good drill bit. So I just went with a link I got from Brandon Eli, or EMX Brandon on YouTube. Thanks a lot too. I got inspiration. This is a mashup of info from a ton of people. But anyway, he has links to these aluminum spacers. The top one, I believe, is a 21mm inside diameter of 15. Bottom is 25, inside 15. I got that, right? And so those are the spacers. Before the spacers, what happens is you have a pinch bolt. Here it is. You have this pinch bolt that sits in there, and this will only accommodate a 12mm axle, right? So I push out the bearings, and to get those bearings out, I use a hot heat gun. I have a heat gun and I heat it around the sides. As much as a heat gun can do, you don't need that much heat. And then pushing those bearings out was cake after heating them up. How do I know that? I pushed out a set without heating them, and I demolished them. But I did have a spare set sitting on the side, because this bike, I bought it used off Marketplace, and I believe it's quite old, good condition, no external rust, but it was quite old. I didn't mind having new bearings. But anyway, if you want to preserve yours, use the heat gun, heat around the sides, right, where the bearing sits, and push them out. You're gonna get this out, right? I bought a spacer that's 15mm in inside diameter, and I believe it was 18 on the outside. You can choose difference. That'll just determine the thickness, and hey, thicker the better, more strength. Also added weight, but this is not gonna add much weight. But I got one of these. It's 6 inches long. you want to be right at 6 or a little less. More doesn't work because then it puts pressure on your bearings as it sits on the outside of it, and it won't let it seat properly, and then you have issues. It's just really meant to guide and provide that you don't push your bearings in too tight when you tighten your bolt. So we got this out the way, right? We got the new spacer inside. Now I'm able to put that aluminum bushing in and put my axle bolt through, tighten down. I didn't go with like washers in between here, which I should have. I'm probably gonna take it apart one of these days and put it in, but everything's been fine. It's not crunching on anything, and that's how I got the front forks put in. We got that out the way, and then the front brake is just a bolt on, nothing to it. That assembly comes with the appropriate length, even with the pro tapers and the risers, which the risers come with the kit. And it also comes with the rear brake. This is where the work comes in. For the rear brake, it comes with the traditional mounting system that's meant to be on the right. When I was getting my swing arm done, Royce Ramirez brought up the point. He goes, hey, how are you gonna mount your brake? You want me to put the nub on the right side? I do have a nub here on this side, actually, which it just provides, it allows this mounting brake mount to slide back and forth. So I have a 15mm hole that accommodates the axle, right? And then there's a slide part. That length is that it has a slide that's 15mm in diameter. I'm not sure how long it is, but it allows it to slide back and forth when I put tension. He pointed out, do I want it on the right side? Because how am I gonna mount my brakes? I'm like, no, just put it on the left side, because I wanted to keep the razor true to form. Chain on the right, brake on the left. So he foresaw that problem. I thought it was as easy as just flipping it over and putting it on this side. Well, the orientation, where the caliper sits, it didn't bite the rotor at all. So I had to custom make this piece right here, and I sat down with my machine shop and we just did it together. I honestly don't have a template or anything, but I noticed the biggest part was measuring these two distances, right? So this distance from here to here, I believe is 50mm, but don't take my measurements. Get a caliper, make those measurements yourself. You're gonna measure those distances and drill your holes there onto your metal plate, and then the distance from this hole to here are the most important, right? That's gonna determine how high your caliper sits, and make it sit appropriately just to bite this area for braking, right? Remember these two spaces, this distance here, and then your angle here. I know it's greater than a 90. I tried a 90 and I think it would sit forward a bit too much. So 110 within 180 will have your brake caliper sit back here, and 110 would determine where it sits based on your preference, right? So distances here, distance from here to here is going to determine how high it sits, and the angle is where your caliper sits back and forth. We got that out the way. I got my brakes mounted, and now I have to deal with the spacing of the wheel. The axle bolts that come with the kit, they come with spacers here and here, a good starting point. Then I had to use washers to fill in the void and get it spaced out properly. The spacing I was trying to get was so that these bolts don't hit my swing arm. So that's what I was dealing with. And then I'll deal with lining up the motor. For the motor, you can just sit your motor with some M8 bolts, about 1.5 inches long, and then play with where your motor's lined up, measure that distance, and get the appropriate spacers. I kinda did, but didn't. I ended up with 1/2 inch aluminum spacers there. I thought that's all I'll need, but then I had to add some washers and fill in the void. But it's not exactly 1 inch, so I couldn't go with the 1 inch. I don't know if they offer 3/4 inch, but that's next. You're gonna line up your motor, got it lined up. Then the rear brake, It comes set up as a foot brake. I had to get a new hose. I went with a 60 because Gypsy, I think he got a 65 or 62 and he said you could go shorter. So I went shorter. I saw a 55-inch option and I measured with some rope. You see that rope I have over there? I measured and I thought I came in at like 57 with some slack, but I didn't want to go with 55 and be short. It's on eBay. I don't know how the return policy is there. So I got 60 and it extends a bit out front. You see that? I don't mind it. I don't care. But with that being said, I think you can go with the 55-inch. It'll take 5 inches off of here and I think you'll have plenty of slack for turning left and right. When you take off that hose, you're gonna reuse these, what are these? You're gonna reuse these copper grommets or whatever. They have like some silicone on the inside. It'll be perfectly fine. They don't get destroyed. And sit your new hose in with the new left hand clutch lever. I think that's what they call it because on the motorcycle that's what it'll end up being, a clutch lever on the left. You'll just fill your reservoir with the appropriate fluid. Mine is .3 or .4, and just go through the whole brake flush system. Look up a video on motorcycle brake flush and you'll know exactly what you have to do. I bought this hose to accomplish that from Home Depot. It's clear vinyl hose. Let's see if it says the diameter. I'm not sure what it is. It's not on there, but you put it on this nipple and flush your brakes and put this other end on somewhere you want the fluid to go. Flush it out, now you have pressure in your brake system. Let's see. Now the motor, I have a QS165. Controller is a FarDriver ND72530. I got this from AliExpress. I didn't buy the kit because I felt like the controller and the kit was just underpowered, so I bought them separate. The motor came out to like $417. Controller came out to about $260 or so. Total price $6 and change for a QS165 and the controller, guys. Like, they're trying to charge us $1,200 for this, and I know at $1,200 they have a few extras, but not to justify the price. The phase wires end here. Let me try to get that. I got some extensions, which is the ones that Surron guys use to put on their back controllers. It's like 30 bucks, and that gave me the extra length to reach my controller up here. Don't mind my ghetto duct tape solution there, which I have the controller being held down on top of the battery, and then I have a silicone plate. I figured you could put silicone in the freaking oven and stuff. It can handle the heat, and plus my controller does not get hot like at all, and I'm pushing 250 amps. It does not get hot at all, and it's sitting right on top of the battery. It's the best placement that I could figure at the time. I don't have enough space to put it on the top here as some guys do, but there we are. I got the controller and the motor from AliExpress, and I got it and they forgot to ship me the Bluetooth dongle, which is what held up the entire build. I timed the build perfectly. I got this sent out to Royce, started working on my swing arm, got it to me within 2 to 3 weeks. It took longer because he was waiting on this part to be laser cut and then welded for me specifically. Like, I had a specific build and request. He usually doesn't do these axial mount slide. He does these motor mount slides, which are perfect and robust. But I wanted this here because I wanted to use an adjustable brake mount. I didn't want it fixed to the axle, right? Plus, I was scared to have to use a tensioner with a QS165. You do what you gotta do, but I just thought it'll look weird with such a massive motor. I feel like it should look like a more appropriately purpose-built build. And so we're there. We got the motor, controller, the battery. I got a 72 volt from Amorn. I'm super happy with that battery and the price. Is there better? I don't know. Yeah, Is there worse? Yeah, this battery is perfect. It pushes out exactly what he tells you that it's gonna push out. On 180 continuous and 360 peak. All shipped to my door. It's 32 amp hours. Shipped to my door for $855. Then we go to the handlebars. I went with the Pro Taper. It seems like most people go with this. It's the highest that I can get. That still looks appropriate for a dirt bike, right? Voltmeter off Amazon, $10. $10. I went with the blue light. People are trying to sell this to us for $25. That's what I feel like is wrong in this Razor community. You got people trying to sell you things that it appears that they're buying it off of Amazon and then trying to resell it. That's the only way it'll make sense to try to sell us this at $25. This costs $10 on Amazon. Trying to sell it to us at $25. Same thing with the motor and controller. You shouldn't be paying $1,200 for this. Maybe if they like a real business model would be to buy the products in quantity that you get a price that then you can still be competitive and maybe provide this from the US in 1 to 2 days. But it seems like these guys are charging us double, ordering from AliExpress and then shipping it to you. It's like drop shipping gone wrong. The purpose of drop shipping is that you're also providing a convenience and a discount. Got this motor and controller for $600. That's less than what you're gonna get the EC4P and the True Moto Cricket, which I'm not knocking those. That motor looks solid, but like, look at this price for a QS165. Anyway, a little bit of info and rant in one. You're getting both. And then I also did a 2-inch drop. I went with 2 inches. I didn't want to go further down because then I think it'll look too funny. The way it drops and where my swing arm is, I feel like it's at a nice level and it's perfect. My knees are in up on my chest. One of the biggest upgrades, like, it just felt so different. I felt so happy, are these foot pegs. Those Razor foot pegs are so narrow. I was scared to stand. I feel like I'm gonna fall off if I didn't have it right on the ball of my foot. These are so wide that I have such a wide margin of error. As long as my foot is on there, I'll stand and have a ton of stability. Get these. What I use to mount, I saw someone's post on the group talking about how the best thing they can have is like when you're mounting a TV, keep those spacers. That's exactly what it is. I had this laying around. There's a spacer for like a TV mount on this side, and then I have like 3 washers on that side, and it was just perfect to get this mounted. I'll post a link on this. And then these are adjustable for the angle, because when I welded this, I didn't use the right angle. So if this is not adjustable, these will be sitting pretty funky, but I can change this angle and it's pretty solid the way that it bolts on. It's been perfect so far. On the build, I want to give a huge shout out, Gypsy, Brandon, EMX Brandon. We got Jordan Davis. This guy's helped me tune. He pretty much tuned my controller. Gave me insights on this throttle here. I was gonna go with the Domino, but I'm happy I went with the Sur-On throttle. I hear the other one can get catchy. That's preference. You do whatever you want. But this throttle is just money. I love it. Then we have Joseph Kennedy. I met this guy on the group. I posted, I didn't have my Bluetooth dongle, which when I posted it, some people were like, oh, that's what you get, you know, pretty much insinuating what you get from China. That's why I charge double the price, because I have customer service here. No, sorry, the guys just messed up. They forgot the Bluetooth dongle. I popped that in and connected to my controller in half a second. He came through. Because then they shipped it for me and it was gonna take a few days to come in. He knew I didn't have it. He came in, gave me a basic tune, and I was running. It was perfect because without him, I would have had a paperweight for a few more days, almost finished paperweight. But shout out to Joseph Kennedy. Thanks, Royce. Thank you so much. This thing is solid. This thing is solid. I I'm not scared to jump it or anything. It's great, and the adjustability, it just looks quality. It's money. Look at that adjustable axle mount slide, the motor mounts. It was just good work. Nice welds. No need to pay $500 for forks. That's what's wrong. They can be selling us a $60, $50 to $80 bushing kit that'll help you seat your $120 forks, but no, they want to sell you that and the fork for $500. No, drop shipping gone wrong. Like, we're here to help each other, or make money if you can make a specialty item at a fair price. Get your forks, get those 2 spacers, get the pinch bolt, custom made pinch bolt that you're gonna order, or use the 12mm axle if you feel like that's gonna be strong enough for you, and you just need the 2 spacers. And the spacers, they're pretty expensive on eBay, or you could find a machine shop that'll get it done for you. Maybe you find a machine shop that will make it long like this for you, and then you cut them up and sell them for $30. That's a nice business model, but not buying the forks and the bushings and try to sell it to us for $500. That's unacceptable. You could get these forks for $120 with the triple tree, right? And then $40 on the bushings. If you need to use the pinch bolt, that's another $20 for $60. Plus the forks, you could have this mounted onto your razor. Let's get this community back to what it should be, sharing information and making money off of custom parts that some people just don't have the access to make it. But like, this is still bolt on. They sell it to you like, oh, it costs that much because it's bolt on. Then like Matt Booyak, I got this mount for this motor. Like, that's awesome. The guy, like, that's a custom part. You deserve to make money off of this. This is fucking awesome. It's nice and sweet, and you're not killing people off of this mount. Like, there are places to make money in this community, and it doesn't have to be buying a part and then selling it to us for double. That you're not doing anything. This is the controller. I just got this controller in to put it on my RSF. This is the 72 450. Just got this in. They didn't forget the Bluetooth dongle this time, and I got this to my door for $230 in 6 days. Got somebody posting that they just bought this for $400. You're not providing a service to the group. You're just fucking ripping people off, and that needs to stop. That's my build. That's all the info I have on what I got done there. And thank you guys.